So last time we were looking at the first half of chapter 1 of Paul's letter to Titus, and how Paul saw the elders, the appointment of elders, as being crucial to helping the Cretans to overcome the character deficiency of deception, which would be a drag on God's grand purposes to turn Christians into beautiful people. We then raised the question about the second half of this chapter here, where the elders were appointed because there were false teachers, people wreaking havoc on the church. And they were insubordinate, empty talkers, deceivers. Many of them were Gentiles, but the biggest problem arose from people who were Jewish but claimed to be followers of Jesus. And Paul spoke very severely about the need for the church to tamp down on their influence, and at the very end said some very harsh things, black and white, or severe things, I should say. To the pure, all things are pure. To the defiled and unbelieving, nothing is pure. So the question was, why is he being so severe? Weren't there a lot of Jews who were like Paul? They had been sincerely following God, and they were not initially maybe following Jesus, but then became followers of Jesus. And weren't there a lot of them that were really valuable to the church, especially since historically it was such a unique situation where you had all these Gentiles suddenly reading the Old Testament scriptures, and the Jews who had been reading the scriptures for centuries were extremely valuable in a lot of ways in helping Gentiles learn about the Old Testament scriptures. So why is Paul being so severe? That's the question. And the answer is that it probably comes from the simple story from Luke chapter 4, where Jesus encounters in the synagogue of Capernaum a demoniac, a man possessed by a demon, and the demon says to Jesus, I know who you are, Jesus of Nazareth, and you're the Holy One of God, and have you come to destroy us? And Jesus muzzles the demoniac. He silences him. Now, the demoniac has said stuff that's, the information's actually true, and he has just said, after all, that Jesus is the Holy One of God. But Jesus muzzles him because he doesn't want someone influenced by a demon to have any credibility whatsoever among the followers of God, because that's precisely the most effective trick that the devil uses to twist and to destroy the church of God, in the same way he did in the garden with Adam and Eve. He used just enough of the truth, and then, of course, added to it a bunch of poison, and that was enough to cause massive trouble. So the Cretan Christians needed to be able to discern between those Jews who were sincere followers of Jesus and were subject to the apostolic authority and were seeking, however in failed ways at times, but seeking to truly follow the teachings of Jesus and the apostles, versus those Christians who were influenced by Jewish teachers who seemed to be followers of Jesus, but by their works, as Paul says, his very last line down here, they deny him in verse 16, by their works. So, because some were, for all practical purposes, no different from pagans, similar to Simon Magus in Acts chapter 8 in Samaria, where he wants to offer money to Peter and John on the side so he can get the power to baptize people in the Holy Spirit. So he just has a completely pagan mind where religion and greed have been married together in his mind. And there were all sorts of very strange ideas, some of which we don't know a lot about, like the Jewish myths and so on. We know some of them, but not all of the inner workings of those. But the point is that they weren't just following the clear teachings available from the Old Testament and where they pointed to the Messiah and then recognizing the apostolic authority, but they were just using this new version of Judaism, the Christian version, as a way to flex their influence, to gain financial support, and their teachings were in the end subversive to what Jesus and the apostles we're trying to communicate. All right, so for the next task, we go into chapter 2, where we look at the households that have been damaged by some of this false teaching. And what we want to look at is, first of all, to note that he addresses the various members of the household: older men, older women, the younger men. There's young women here in verse 4, bondservants who were part of the households in the Roman world, Greco-Roman world. And here's our questions. First of all, are these exhortations exhaustive? I mean, are these all that Paul wants Christians to focus on? Secondly, if not, why does Paul choose to emphasize only these qualities? Why is he exhorting them only on these few things? Because he only mentions a few things for each of the members of the household. And then third, why are the exhortations different for older men and older women? I mean, aren't they supposed to be focusing on them about the same kinds of things? So why, as he runs through the exhortations, are there so many differences of emphasis on the different members of the households? So best wishes, and we'll see you next time.